Hey everybody, I'm here in my Star Wars themed home studio where I have written and recorded a new worship album that is currently being mixed and hopefully will be available and released sometime like late September. But I thought I would show you my guitars and basses and things that I have been blessed with, that I love and have used on a lot of my recordings. So check it out. All right, I'm going to start with my acoustics, and if you know me from church, this is probably the guitar that you've seen me with most. This is a Taylor 710, and it is a beautiful guitar. It is my favorite guitar. I will play this guitar forever, and it was such a testament of God's provision for me, and it always reminds me of that. When I was just getting into ministry, I needed a guitar that I could lead worship with and be hired at a church with, but I didn't even own an acoustic guitar. And so my wife and I had prayed about it, and we saved up some money. We found this guitar on Craigslist, and the guy who was selling it turned out to be a youth worship leader, and he was moving on to be a full-time ministry and needed to sell the guitar and make some funds to support his new mission. So he was selling it for a quarter of the price that he bought it for, but it was the exact, like to the dollar, what Trisha and I had saved for. And it was like, just God was like, here's your guitar. I called you into ministry. Here you go. And it was really cool how this guitar, you know, didn't miss a beat. And it transferred from one worship leader to another worship leader. And it's been just leading worship its whole life. So I've had it for 10 years or so, maybe 12. And it's pretty much led worship with me almost every single Sunday for that whole time. So this is my wonderful Taylor 710 with the old school Fishman pickups, which I love, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, I've got this Takamine here, and speaking of missionaries, we had some friends that also became missionaries, and they had gifted me this guitar when they left. We had brought our kids over to the house to play, and I picked up my son like on the last day before they were like moving or whatever, and they were like, hey, you play guitar. We don't want this anymore. Here you go. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. It's just a great little guitar, a spare acoustic. I have it set up with a Nashville high tuning right now. It's high strung right now, which means it has these, it's a little out of tune, but these four strings are one octave higher, and these two are just normal. It's a great way to add, you know, the rhythm of your acoustic guitar without like the girth and the bulk of that low end. Because a lot of time in mixing, you're going to mix out the bottom end of an acoustic. You're just going to get that high kind of percussive thing. So this has been a tried and true method. So I use it on this last project. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Another Takamine that I have is this wonderful piece right here. This is a Takamine a nylon string, I almost said 12 string, a nylon string classical guitar. This was my mom's guitar that she had for decades and would lead like, preschool music time, things like that for many, many years. And this was the first guitar that I ever played on. This is what I sort of learned my first chords on back in the early 90s, you know, the as the deer, panteth, where does it go? For the water, so my, of course, I was dying. I'm trying to like play this, I was dying. So long after thee. And my sister played on it for a while, and then my mom gave it to me a couple years ago, which I just feel really blessed by, really blessed to have it, a piece of my mom's history, my family and sister's history, and my history. Now it lives here. And I got to record it for another upcoming project, not the one that's coming out hopefully in a month, but the next one, which will be, I'm going to do two parts. I'm going to do two albums back like a double album called Otherworldly Part 1 and Otherworldly Part 2. And so I recorded this guitar on the next batch of songs that will come out hopefully early winter, maybe springtime. So I can't wait for you guys to hear that. Other acoustic stuff. I got this little Gretsch mandolin. The truth is, I don't know how to play mandolin. But I've got it tuned. I always have it tuned where I just play like a couple, like one finger chords and do these little patterns over worship music, and it sounds really nice. And everybody's like, "Oh, you can play mandolin." No, I can't. I don't even know the standard tuning for a mandolin. I don't even know how to tune a mandolin properly. I just do like cheater worship tuning, but it works. It works. It works. Of course, you gotta have a couple ukuleles lying around. We got a couple of these. My funny story is that I used to teach over at Music Town with the wonderful Jason Squires, who, if you know, you love. And he called me up one day and he's like, "Hey, yo, next week I got a ukulele student for you." I was like, "I don't know how to play ukulele. I don't even own one." He was like, "Cool. You have a week." And I was like, "Bleh." So I got a little ukulele from Watermelon Music, and I strummed out a couple chords. And the next week I had my student. She lasted 3 lessons, and then she quit. She was like, "You're a bad teacher." And I was like, "Yup, I don't blame you." So, and then just my ukulele just sort of sits around. For basses, this is my good old Fender Squire jazz bass. I bought this off a buddy of mine named Greg Schubert back in the day in like the late 90s for like $100, and I was so stoked to have it. I've played it on like, I played it for like 2 straight years on Sundays as the bass player for church, and gigs and worship camps, summer camps, and recordings. It's taken a beating, and it's in great shape, and I love it so much. Here's the funny thing. I've had this bass for 20 years, and it's got, I don't know if I can get in there and you can see it. It's got 3 knobs, has 2 volume and a tone knob. And literally until this year, I thought the middle knob, which is a volume knob, should have been a tone knob. I thought maybe the tone knob got lost and, Greg put a volume knob on. No offense, Greg. Put it on. But no, it's the way it's supposed to be. I didn't know until this year that the 2 volume knobs are for each pickup, 1 knob per pickup. I've had this guitar for so long. I was coming from a very electric guitar kind of idea where you have a master volume and you have 2 tone knobs. I just thought they just got mixed up, but no. Good old classic J bass pattern where you have 1 volume per pickup so you can blend between the 2. How many recordings have I done where I'm like, I don't know how, it just doesn't sound, but I guess that's the great thing about these basses is that, even when you have a dunderhead like me, you can still make it sound good, and it sounds great. And then just a couple years ago, because I have just like baby carrots on the end of my hands, I got this Fender Mustang short scale, and I love it to death. I don't even really play that J bass anymore because it's just too big, and I love the compact size of this. It's a great color. It's really punchy. You got the P bass set up, but you do have like a jazz bass kind of thing, so you can kind of switch back and forth. You can get a classic P bass sound. You can get like more of a J bass sound. You can kind of blend them between. Really simple, really straightforward, and if I need to play a bass lick, which are not complicated, but this is what I'm going to do it on, and I love it so much. Okay, on to the goodies. Electric guitars. Now, my first electric guitar that I had was called a Sledgehammer, and the name really was true to the elegance of this guitar. It was like a slab of wood with like some strings like hewn across it. It was terrible. I don't have it anymore. It was white. I spray painted it and smashed it for an album cover that for a band that I was in called All Things Possible. So good times. But when I had that guitar, this was like, I bought it in high school, and then I had saved up some money to buy my very first set of guitar pedals. I wanted to buy an overdrive pedal, and I wanted to buy a chorus pedal. I went to my local pawn shop in Huntington Beach, and my dad drove me there because I couldn't drive. And as I'm buying my pedals, on the rack somewhere was hanging this black Strat, little Mexican Squire, and he just decided that I needed it. And my dad just bought this for me on the spot. And I'm like, that's how dads do it. So thank you, Dad. Like this guitar is like imbued with the goodness of my dad. The Takamine nylon is imbued with the goodness of my mom. And this guitar is so much, man. I've had so many different pickups on it. It has so many different configurations. Right now it's got some vintage 89 single coil Strat pickups in there that I gutted from another guitar. It was covered in stickers for a long time. I played it in my band, All Things Possible, for a long time. It had big old Jesus fish. It had like one that said like, if my music is too loud, you're too old. It had one that said, chicks dig it, right across the bottom. And I used to stand on stage at church every Sunday as part of the worship team in like my early 20s, like playing like My Redeemer Lives, like that era stuff, with my chicks dig it. If my music is too loud, you're too old, just praising Jesus. So ridiculous. And then one day my, I had like a crate voodoo, I had a crate blue voodoo half stack that I had on stage at this like smallish to medium-sized church. I just had a half stack on stage. Great. Anyway, one day the pastor's wife, her name was Camilla Cottrell, come up to me and she said, Derek, what exactly does chicks dig it mean? And I was like, I don't know. I'm so incredibly uncomfortable with this question. I don't even know what I said. I just sort of rambled and then quickly left. This is my favorite electric. This is my American Strat. It's a 1989, but it's a 1962 reissue. It has virtual vintage pickups in it right now. Very Lincoln Brewster-esque. I was in a very big Lincoln Brewster phase at the time when I bought this, but I still love it. I just play it so much. It just fits right to me. It's covered with like spit, dried spit marks, which you can't see, but it's just, I love it. I love it so much. Let's play Faithful in the back. I have that on my acoustic too. Just a reminder to me to always keep my heart faithful to the Lord when I'm playing, you know. Keep my eyes fixed upon Jesus, my author and perfecter of my faith. So this is my, I love this like minty pickup. It's so good. Love this guitar. Now here's the best guitar story that I have. This is my PRS Custom 22. Beautiful abalone inlay, rosewood fingerboard, big old fatty humbuckers, got the 5-way switch. Just the binding is gorgeous. It's like solid black, like super just sleek. This guitar is imbued with the grace and goodness of my wife. I bought this probably within the first 6 months of my wife and I being married in 2003. And I learned through this guitar that I am an emotional spender. And we had been married, like I said, somewhere in the vein of 6 months. And she went away for the first time for like a whole weekend. We were in the season when all of our friends were getting married, right? And so she was off at a friend's wedding or a bachelorette party. I was a very lonely man. But my new wife was a teacher. I was a nobody working at Home Depot, but they give teachers really big credit limits. So I was now a lonely man with a very large credit card, and I was finding myself moping through the aisles of a Sam Ash down in Westminster, California, and then I found myself playing this guitar, pouring out my sorry soul all over its wonderful frets, and then I found myself standing at the cash register, then I found myself in the parking lot with this guitar going, how am I going to tell my wife that I just spent $4,300? This guitar was $4,300. I was like 22, 23. My wife was out of town. We had been married 6 months and I just dropped $4,000 on a guitar because I was sad. What? So I had to call her. I called her in the parking lot of Sam Ash and I was like, hi, want to tell you what I did? And I told her and she was like just mind blown. And she had said like, I thought maybe an inexpensive guitar would be like maybe $100, but like an expensive guitar would be like $500. And I was like, no, nope, that's not how music gear works. So I did say, but it's blue. You like blue? And she was incredibly gracious. She was kind. She was patient with me. She expressed her dislike of me spending that kind of money without her, but she did not kick me out of the house. And I have it to this day, and I will never, ever, 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 ever sell it, just to her credit. So this guitar is imbued with the grace and noble character of my wonderful wife. Scripture says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, and I say amen to that. Now, don't ever do that, please. Don't ever spend $4,000 on anything when your wife is not in town. But here's my newest guitar, which my wife also approved. Here's my newest guitar I want to show you. It's this. Right here. This is like a parts caster, a Telecaster, that I purchased from good old Warmouth Guitars for my 40th birthday. And I'm going to be putting this guitar together, and I'm going to be documenting it. So I'm going to do like an unboxing video probably next week, and then I'm going to do a couple of videos of me putting it together. And I would hope that you guys would join me on that journey. I haven't even looked at this guitar yet. I haven't even opened it, but I've seen the pictures, but I don't know what it looks like in real life, you know, what the finish and the wood looks like. I'm really excited. And I've never done anything like this. So I hope that you would stick around with me and go through this journey of building my 40th birthday guitar together. So in that vein, in that sense, would you maybe like this video? Would you follow me on subscribe to my channel on YouTube and follow me on Facebook? You know, comment in the comments below. You know, what's your favorite guitar? Do you have a favorite guitar? Do you have a classic guitar story? Do you have a crazy story of you spending way too much money when your spouse was not around? Anyway, thanks for tuning in and hanging out with me, and we'll be back next time for unboxing this beautiful beast. I'll see you then.